There's a ton of people that wanted me to make this review. Actually, this is not a review. This is a review of a review. So, diaper review. You know who I'm talking about. They did this disgusting, bogus review on the X-H1, and it is. It's pretty pathetic. Before you think I'm a Fuji fanboy, I'm not. I do love superior products that are reliable and so well thought out and designed, but they gave the XT2 sometime back when the XT2 came out an 86% rating. Reviews are very subjective too, but when someone does an incomplete review because they didn't even familiarize themselves with the camera, then that's a pathetic review. I've actually seen threads on diaper review. So one thread says, this review is, meaning this diaper review. That's what I call it, diaper review. This review of the X-H1 is disgusting and horrible, and there's a long thread about it. And of course the original poster is correct. The review is horrible. Let me give you some direct quotes and tell you where they really screwed the pooch on the review of the X-H1. And people are of course free to review the camera however they want. Our only real concern is the camera's failure to excel in any respect, especially in light of the competition available at this price. Are you kidding me? there's features on this camera no other camera has. Amazing. Most people have never had their hands on an X-H1. The leaf spring shutter release, the 5-point spring suspension on the shutter mech makes this camera... My XT2 sounds like a machine gun or a freight train going down the tracks when you take a shot. The X-H1 is just deadly silent. It's absolutely amazing for like event or quiet places, wedding, chapel ceremonies. Oh my God. Doesn't excel in any respect. I say, well, it's the same sensor and output. Well, actually, the output's a little bit better, but not much. It's negligible. Same sensor and output as the XT2. I mean, this is so much more of a camera. I mean, it just is. I mean, it's undeniably so that it is. Yeah, here's another quote. However, given how good some of its competition is at this point in the market, we can't wholeheartedly recommend it in the way we would the XT2, which means it earns the Silver Award. What do you mean? It's like the XT2 on steroids. I know it's bigger. It actually has to be technically bigger because of the IBIS mech that's in there, which necessitates it to be about 10 millimeters, 8 to 10 millimeters thicker, which it is, than the XT2. I mean, this camera was specifically designed to suck over DSLR users that were familiar. It's like a mini DSLR. The camera itself, not including the vertical battery grip, is not that big. These opinions, and that's what they are, they're not empirical fact whatsoever. I mean, they're nonsense. They're absolutely nonsense. They just said they wouldn't recommend it compared to the XT2. Why? It's an XT2 on steroids. The menu system's the same. Other than the ergos being slightly larger and has a nice handhold grip, I mean, it's an XT2 with a lot of advanced features added to the XT2. You gave it the exact same review as an XT2. Oh, interesting. They called it relatively large and heavy. No, that's a stinking lie. It's like a miniature DSLR. And that's exactly how Fujifilm designed it. They wanted to suck over DSLR users, but also to have a substantial grip, something to hold on to while doing 4K video recording with the IBIS mech kicked in. You got something to hold on to. Some users may miss the dedicated exposure comp dial. The exposure compensation dial is still there, it's just moved to the rear command dial. The top exposure compensation dial has been removed and replaced with the top submenu display for use, and it is extremely handy, especially when recording at waist level or doing video recording, but the exposure compensation dial is still there, so this point is an absolute stinking lie. Everywhere, yeah, here's another statement. This is a really screwed up statement. This is where they really screwed the pooch. Everywhere I look, I find details that make this camera, the X-H1, feel like it has not been fully thought through. Have you lost your damn mind? There is no other camera. It's like, well, that's just your damn opinion. No, it's a damn fact. There's no other camera out there by any manufacturer that has been more fully thought through in all its excruciating minutiae and detail of ergonomics, button placement, yada yada, than this camera is. I know of... Someone's always calling me when I'm making a video. No other camera's been more fully thought out than this one. It's like, well, that's your opinion. Yeah, some opinions are worth a lot more than others. Name another camera that's more thoroughly thought out in its menu system and where every little damn thing is placed and put. Just name it. You can't. The Sony A9, the Sony A7 III, and the Sony A7R III, the ergonomics are horrible by any estimation. That's just one thing. The menus, of course, are horrible. Sadly, you see here another thing they say. This is also where they really screwed up. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. Sadly, the touch screen is often rather slow to respond. This is where they screwed up, really. Which rather detracts from the sense of immediacy of the camera. Well, they weren't using the touch screen wrong. I've told other people what they were doing wrong. They had their nose touching somewhere on the back of the screen. What they didn't do is factory default is the entire touch screen is activated. So when you have your face against the damn camera, your nose is touching it, and you're using your finger over here, vice versa, then the camera doesn't know whether to listen to your nose or listen to your finger for autofocus point selection. Therefore, you have to select a zone. Upper left, lower right, lower left, upper left. That way it is completely responsive. So in this case, they actually dumped on the camera, the X-H1, because they didn't know how the hell to use it and go deeply into the menus to set out a priority zone where everything else is not touch sensitive. Therefore, if your nose is touching over here, it doesn't mean it interferes with you moving your finger or thumb over here for autofocus point selection. So they really screwed up. The only negative detraction I could actually give for the X-H1, and it's nothing to me, is that it does chomp more, about 20-25% on the battery than the X-T2. I mean, this is a given. This is a given. Is it any big deal? No. I mean, I've been out shooting for, when I was in Florida anyway, out shooting for 10 hours plus. With these 3 batteries, I used up all of one battery and about a half of the second vertical grip battery. So I was still shooting all damn day long, and I was shooting hard with the 100-400 doing bird photography, wildlife photography. So absolutely a bogus review. Just bogus. I actual review, what I give a percentage on the X-H1 as far as a review, I give it a 94%. In execution and everything else. Compared to Sony, the X-H1, superior manufacturing, there's no doubt there by anybody. Better support, undeniably so. 1,000 times better future support and firmware, even the Sony people admit to that. Far superior ergonomics as opposed to the cinder block or the brick that is the Sony and its disgusting ergonomics. It's just disgusting. Here's where me and Frono's photographer, every time he picks up a Sony camera, you know, he makes some sort of disgusting, disparaging remark about the ergonomics of it, which he's accurate on that. The ergonomics are so abysmal on the Sony. I have no idea what on earth Sony is smoking to make the ergonomics so horrible on their damn cameras, you know. Far better lens selection, far superior ecosystem by and large, infinitely better menus and control buttons than anybody else's. Their placement, the functionality, and the customizability of the Fujifilm X-H1 or even the X-T2. The X-H1 specifically, it's a lot more superior than the X-T2. It's like, well, how could it be? It's got the exact same image sensor, has the same output. Actually, some tweaks are high ISO. Lower noise by about 3/4 of a stop over the X-T2. Not much. The insane shutter release, the leaf spring on the shutter release. The actually 5-point spring suspension on the shutter mechanism. The eye relief, the electronic front curtain, superior insane, the shutter back that I was referring to. Touchscreen capability, IBIS, which I have no need for other than for video. I don't need IBIS. I do have one use for IBIS. It would be 500mm f8 mirror lens. They give me a 2.5 stops reduction using that big. They talk about 750mm field of view equiv. That is useful. That IBIS feature is useful on the camera, and I've used and tested it as well. Nikon or Canon or Sony has nothing to compete with the Fujifilm in these arenas as far as superior manufacturing, firmware, support, updates, ecosystem. Nikon and Canon obviously has more glass, but to rate this 86%, not only that, they gave it the same percentile rating, but they said, well, the X-T2 wins a gold award at 86%, but this one wins an 86% at silver. The most, insane It is an it's a joker. Did you know this company that reviewed this camera a few days ago is owned by Amazon.com? I'll let you put the pieces together there yourself. The relatively large and heavy. This was designed to be a mini DSLR by Fujifilm. Some users may miss the dedicated exposure compensation dial. The exposure compensation dial is still right there. It's moved from here to here. Oh, look! Look, it's moved from here to here, here to here. Oh my God, 5 millimeters distance change of location for the exposure comp dial. No, this is a bogus review. They're talking about the touch screen and dumping on it. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how to set the zone for autofocus, for touch screen autofocus sensitivity on the back screen. Everywhere I look, I find details that make this camera feel like it has not been fully thought through. This is epic BS, because this is the most thought through camera in attention to detail, every little frigging damn nuance out there by anybody. Canon, Nikon, Sony, anybody. So that statement is not only BS, it's epic BS. So yeah, you can tell me I'm full of it if you wish, but that review, that horrible review of the Fujifilm X-H1 is a joke. Just a joke. Yeah, a joke. Owned by Amazon.com. Yeah, you put two and two together. You'll figure it out. I'm pretty sure you will figure it out. I think you know where I'm going with that. Bye.